Hello to all. Welcome back to Tally CA Connect. So, thank you so much for joining us every Wednesday to learn TallyPrime. Today's discussion is on advanced GST scenarios and configurations in TallyPrime, such as treatment of sales through e-commerce operators, handling reverse charge on supplies, resolving uncertain transactions in the GST reports. So earlier we have covered on the previous session on the connected GST bit about the reconciliation and filing of GSTR1. And today we are here because GST is such a vast subject. So we are here to discuss new features for the CA Connect platform. And please allow me to welcome our expert for today, tax practitioner Ezhilarasan T, with 20 plus years of experience in taxation, accounting, ERP training. And sir is a Tally evangelist, has conducted over hundreds of workshops on Tally, GST across Tamil Nadu, regularly training for Tally solutions as well for our Tally partners. So I am so used to calling LL sir. So please excuse me for the mispronunciation. And so thank you so much, LL sir, for your time, for suggesting this topic for our CA Connect forum. And before we begin, I want to take a moment to request everyone here to nominate for our Tally Apex CA Day Awards. It has 3 categories. You can nominate yourself, your peers. It's for any CA that has inspired you. Please do nominate them. It's our last week when we are requesting nominations. Post there, we'll be having jury doing the evaluation. So I'll put the link in the chat. And LL sir, thank you so much for your time. Over to you.
Thank you, Komal. Good afternoon to everyone. Hope my audio is clear.
Yes, perfect.
Fine. So thanks and welcome all of you in the Connect. So really, it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us here to connect week on week to discuss about the unique and very useful things around us. Certainly, TallyPrime is keep on coming up with so many excitements over this last recent past years. Yeah, even though so many connected and so many advanced features and everything is there, I feel little bit of some uniqueness of TallyPrime even not yet been experienced by so many of us. So I would certainly believe most of us here also agree upon certain things. Whatever I list down here might be somehow someone in the forum might have already experienced this thing. Anyway, let me go one by one. Thanks once again for this wonderful opportunity and the entire team of the Tally Evangelist team working behind this entire coordination and all. So the consistent one which has been taken care and which is most of beneficial to the professionals, the audience and everyone here. So let's go for the best. Then the 90 minutes I'm going to cover up on the topics here. The treatment of the sales through a e-commerce operator. So it's a small subject. Everybody would think on it. Certainly, a small amount of some disclosure element is there in this e-commerce operator. I don't know, a small thing which is to be disclosed in the GSTR1, how it has been taken care, though it is not apparently visible on the product, a small amount of configuration will reach you to this level of compliance, GSTR1 compliance of this sales through e-commerce operators. Then the second one, handling of the reverse charge supplies. Reverse charge supplies, I am here taking the 2 sides of the reverse charge supply. As a supplier, I am giving a supplies which are subject to reverse charge and on which I am not collecting any tax. The recipient is going to pay the tax. How I am going to disclose it? That is one part. The other part is I am consuming, I am receiving products on the supplies which are subject to reverse charge. How tax has to be treated on it, how tally entries has to be treated, because in this reverse charge, apart from this outward supplies, the inward supply reverse charge is the biggest element for the GST taxpayers. almost every one of us would have complying this reverse charge. So in this also, you would have already experienced with the journal entries, the stat adjustment entries, how it has been done for the liability creation as well as input tax availing, all those things. Not only that, I am here going to take you through to the reverse charge supplies option available in the GST report, other reports menu. So what is that option? Because Tally is very much meticulously thinking upon the compliances angle, and here is what we are differentiated from the other applications where the Tally is fully compliant with the GST norms and the rules formation of forms and other compliances aspects around it. So let me clearly showcase you about the aspects what is around the reverse charge supplies menu. Then the third one, the advanced GST configuration, not particularly on a GST configuration. I am particularly here. What I mean is the F11 features under the GST rate and other details option. There is some additional features in it, the source of the calculation, all those things, which many are not noticing it. That I will touch on this particular discussion. Then last but not the least, the pain point or the time-taking element of all of us in the monthly compliances aspect, where the various elements of our what to say, the uncertain transactions correction needed items. I am here because of the time constraint. I'm picking up 5 or 6 elements of most frequent happening the uncertain transactions. Beyond that, Tally itself in the help site, actually it has given so many 20 plus of uncertain things which has to be corrected. All those uncertains are not from the application, which are from the data entry perspective, because this GST compliances is full of some small activations here and there in the features and configurations and capturing information from the party customer ledger to the accounting ledger and the stock item master or the tax ledgers, so on and so forth. So like this, so many configuration here and there has to be made sure. So then only the final output of our GSTR1 or GSTR3B would be a complete one. The most welcoming part here is from the main dashboard of our GSTR1 or 3B, we will be known to what are all the transactions are missed out, and what are all the transactions are in the error mode, and what are all not considered in that particular report. All these things are available. By this, we are more reliable on the GST report, GSTR1 and 3B from the Tally instead of from any other application. Anyway, first getting into the first topic of our day, the treatment of sale to a e-commerce operator. So e-commerce operator, what we do here is, while starting the discussion itself, one of the gentlemen has put in the chat, I believe, the recording of transaction in section 9 subsection 5. So section 9 subsection 5, it's a different transaction, so I don't think much of an explanation needed on that. There are some 4 different services listed out there: housekeeping services, accommodation services, our transportation services. So like that, there are 4 different services. For that, the treatment would be the supplier in those type of services would be showing the supplies in the exempted supply. Only the e-commerce operator is liable to pay the tax, so there won't be any difficulty in showing the exempted supplies, because in the sale or income ledger we would be configuring it as an exempted supply. Then it goes like that. But in an additional configuration in the GSTR1, there is a separate disclosure for the e-commerce operators. So not for us, the seller, the supplier, through the e-commerce operator. Therefore, I am just concentrating on the element which are most crucial for all of us in the section 52 element of attracting TCS. Attracting TCS. So I am going to give you a explanation on this table 14 at GSTR1 disclosure of this particular nature of transaction subject to TCS, tax collected at source in GST. So here at the latest updated um, tax rate of 0.5% of TCS would be deducted by the e-commerce operator for the all transaction lying under this particular provision. So this is the screenshot. This is the screenshot of our GSTR1 where this table is look like this. This is additional table in addition to our B2B or B2C reporting. This has to be done for the transactions for the supplies through e-commerce operator. I would here just understand that every one of you also would be very much clear on this particular compliance aspect. So any transaction through a e-commerce operator under the provision of section 52 has to be reported in the two tables of GSTR1. One, either it is a B2B or B2C in the respective table. Then the other one is through which e-commerce operator that transaction has happened. That has to be classified and that has to be disclosed in this table 14. So disclosure in table 14 is taken care by TallyPrime. That is what we are going to see, how that disclosure happens and how it would be configured and made possible in TallyPrime. So I'm having a data here. Here, a fewer things to be understood. While we create a ledger, I created a ledger in Amazon. So I am just putting it as a central debtor because we are going to receive commissions or margins from him. So I am putting it in a central debtor. That is not a problem here, classifying this group. But here is the point to be noted actually. In the registration type, we have a peculiar registration type. So that has to be configured as the e-commerce operator here. So Tally is sensibly handling this particular classification. By putting the e-commerce operator, Tally is checking whether this GST number is a TCS number, e-commerce number of the particular person. Because if you put any other GST number other than the TCS GST number, Tally shows here error. You see here, mostly you will get a GST number with the Z classification in the 14th digit. But for this TCS, you get a C notification. So this is what the e-commerce operator number. This Tally takes care. This Tally shows an error. Let's say I'm just copying this number. Instead of this number, if I put any other number, even though that number is a correct GST number, that will show an error here. Actually, that will show an error. So let me do it in a slower manner. So when I put it, that shows an incomplete error. Though this GST number is the right GST number, that shows an error. Why? Because I have selected the registration type as e-commerce operator. The e-commerce operator registration number is this. When I put this number, the error doesn't arise. This is the starting point. So first, e-commerce operator has to be e-commerce operator ledger has to be configured like this. First thing, I hope everyone could follow this thing. So e-commerce operator, sir, someone has raised the hand. So we will take up all the questions in the end of the session. We have much more things to see in the next 45 minutes to 1 hour. So that we'll take it up in the last 5 or 10 minutes, sir. Kindly cooperate with us, sir. Thank you. So the first element here is the e-commerce operators GST number, the validation of the e-commerce operators GST number. While creating this e-commerce operators ledger, the registration type has to be selected as e-commerce operator, then the registration number should be the correct e-commerce operator's number. That validation itself Tally takes care. This is how, because compliance in GST GST has so many minute things in it actually. So Tally has taken utmost step to comply all those things. So my e-commerce operator um, ledger has been created. Okay. So here, so I just made one entry here. Let me go to the entry itself. So again, a small thing, not much, not a great thing here to be checked upon. So while putting the transaction under this particular scenario, I am making to a particular customer through e-commerce portal. So through Amazon portal. So Amazon on behalf of me raising the bill to the customer. Yes, sir. Please wait, sir. Please just go through this thing. I am selecting Amazon in the party name, but in the buyer party details in the sub window. So in the main screen, the sale invoice, I am putting Amazon. In the sub window, I am putting the actual person actual buyer's detail here. You see here, consignee detail is been Amazon captured, and the buyer detail is my yeah, original customer. This is how it has to be. This is how it has to be captured. So by this, Tally automatically takes this particular transaction to a B2B transaction as well as to the table 14 disclosure also. I'll show you to this. So while going and have a look on our GSTR1 reporting, where this sale is here in the B2B, right? So one more disclosure is needed. Uh, that disclosure, if you go and check it out in the change view, I'm doing once again the GSTR one. Go on check in the change view. E-commerce summary is there. So if I click that e-commerce summary, this has to appear. Then only this table 14 will be carried over. Then only this table 14 will be uploaded. So if your configurations are correct, this will appear. I will come once again in the GSTR1. My primary disclosure of B2B transaction or B2C transaction is coming here. Beyond that, table 14 transaction, I have to go check it out in the change view. E-commerce summary, I have to go and check it out. If you have not done the configurations rightly, let's say if you have not put the right e-commerce operator GST number, if you have not selected the party name in the sales transaction, first as consignee as the e-commerce operator, if that it's not done, then you will not get this report. So make sure all your basic selections have been correctly done. Then only you will get into that. So possibly whatever you comes in your mind, if possible, put it in your chat. I'll go through it. So other than that, I think Q&A is also yes. Whatever comes in your mind, you put it in the chat box. I will come to you. So this is how the e-commerce supplies through an e-commerce operator has been taken care. By doing this, this sale transaction is reported as required in the law in both the transaction, both the spaces, like in the B2B table as well as in the table 14, the information has been captured. By ensuring whether it has been carried out or not, you can check it out in the e-commerce summary like that which I shown in the GSTR1 reporting of Tally. Now we will move to handling the reverse charges. Reverse charges on outward supplies as well as the reverse charge on inward supplies. we'll spend few more times on these things. So for the outward supplies, I don't think how many of you are handling this thing. As an advocate, single advocate, though you have a GST number, the law gives you a liberty to give an invoice without GST, without GST. So, which means the recipient pays the tax on the reverse charge basis. Like that, if you are a GTA, goods transporting agent, though you have an GST number, you have an option. You have an option to adopt to charging on reverse charge basis. By this, the disclosure what requires is in the B2B table of GSTR1. I think the next slide. In the outward supplies, taxable outward supplies B2B table, law requires us to tick upon this particular supply attracting reverse charge while disclosing our reverse charge outward supplies. This is also rightly taken care by Tally. That is what I am going to show you. So for this, I need a small configuration setup in my sales or income ledger. Then obviously your reports also will be carried down to GSTR1. So report should be while uploading the B2B transaction, this portion has to be ticked. So that Tally takes care. Once you upload the JSON file from the Tally, this reverse charge outward supply will be appropriately uploaded if you have done the configuration correctly. So for that, here you see my customer. This my customer is my reverse charge supplies. Okay, so I am doing the product. Sorry. You see, I created a ledger. So for our easy understanding, I created a ledger reverse charge outward supply. It could be of any of your choice, the name. The point here is I made it the GST applicability, applicable, anything, right? So the tax also I said, the tax rate also I said. The point here is applicable for reverse charge. I made it as yes. Okay, this has to be made it as applicable. So this has to be configured to yes. Then the transaction would be this transaction, this outward supply would be treated as a reverse charge outward supply by Tally, and the sufficient marking would also be done then. To get this point, probably most of you would not get this thing. Our F12 configuration has all the uh, elements within it. So kindly check if you are not getting that point. Reverse charge, applicable reverse charge element here. So applicable for reverse charge element is not here. Then you can go and check it out in the F12 configuration. There, enable reverse charge calculation is there. So first make it as yes. Then we will go and make the applicability here by marking yes to the particular ledger. Also, though it is not related to this particular topic, so here these things are also important. I think so. Putting this eligible input tax credit as yes, all those things also much more important on taking a particular input credit, a particular inward supply or all those things. So anyway, that has to be taken care. So now we'll see on the reverse charge element alone. So since it is sales, there won't be any eligible credit part. That would be in the expenses or purchases part, right? So here, the only one thing. So to get our outward supply in reverse charge, I am making this applicable to reverse charge as yes. Okay. Then see here, can anyone check what is the different element here? I have not selected any tax ledger here. That is the peculiar element here. Okay. If you have not selected any tax element, Tally will throw an error in a other type of transaction, regular transactions. But in the reverse charge transaction, Tally will not throw you an error. That is the most welcoming part here, the most welcoming part here. Okay, so I am not saving here. So without any tax ledger, I have put the entry, but Tally on reporting, because it is going to report by ticking the required checkbox, the tax also will come. But the finest part here is, though it is there in the GSTR1, but it is not payable by us. It is not payable by us. Nah? You can just check it out in the GSTR3B, right? GSTR3B there. So in that GSTR3B, you will go by the month alone. Otherwise, other transaction will come. So here you see the first e-commerce operator B2B transaction that suffers a tax. So therefore that is collected, that is coming. But the other transaction which I am giving as reverse charge outward supply, that tax is not coming in 3B, but it is showing in the GSTR1 because for that it is needed. For 3B, the liability I am not going to pay. So the recipient is going to pay. That's why the liability is not coming. This is how the disclosure element is fully taken care. I hope can able to understand all here, would able to understand how the reverse charge outward supplies, how the reverse charge outward supplies has been taken care by Tally. So let me put another entry also if needed. You know, I am just showing you with already having entry, right? So I am just going and putting some other entry, right? Let's say my customer, they may say my customer. So I am selling another product to him. So I am selecting instead of reverse charge, I say my any other sales. So my local sales or whatever, local sale, RCM, whatever name. The important thing here is I need to say the tax rate as well as I need to configure applicable reverse charge. Okay, so it is a product, I can say product. Anyway, it would not be a product. So here, no e-way nothing. So bill wise there. If I save here, normally invoice, that will show no tax ledger is collected. But here it will not ask you. Here it will not ask you. So the entry got saved. Now go and check your GSTR1. Now go and check your GSTR1. That GSTR1 has your that transaction, right? 18,000 transaction is there. But go to the GSTR3B transaction. The taxable value alone is coming. No tax is coming because it is a outward supply. The tax charge has to be discharged by the recipient. So I am not liable on this part. So hope you are able to understand this element, reverse charge, outward supply, how is taken care by the Tally, right? So then the next element and most important element, which every one of us would have already experiencing and little bit an extra mile, we are going to see some additional configurations here. By this, we are able to verify. So like what are all the RCMs which we have to pay, the liability, the modes, the liability in the RCM has been fully complied, as well as the input tax credit, the liability after paying the liability, the input credit also been taken, because there is a difference of opinion in the reverse charge compliance. People paying the reverse charge liability, taking the input credit on the same month. The law doesn't protect the law It doesn't prevent anybody to take up credit on the same month, because the mechanism in the GST portal is very well taken care that the reverse charge liability is discharged through a cash ledger alone. It is not getting set off with the input credit. By this, we can able to understand that the entries, both the entries, the liability creation entry as well as the input tax credit taken entry, can be done in the same month. That is what the observation in the particular element, reverse charge inverter supplies entry in the TallyPrime. Okay, the fundamental element behind, I think most of you would have already gone through the entire notifications related to the RCM, reverse charge applicability on the goods. What are all the goods government has listed down? The reverse charge applicability, meaning the purchaser of those goods has to pay. The seller will not levy any tax. Similarly, the consumer of the particular services listed on the 13/2017. So that services, for example, the GTA services, illegal services, and so many other security services, so many services listed down in the notification, we have to pay as a reverse charge mechanism. Then the applicability for reverse charge. The applicability reverse charge are taken care in both stock item as well as the ledger, because RCM not specific to services. It also applicable to scrap, no? Sorry, goods also. Goods example is scrap, what I mean to say. So similarly, the cotton, other some cashew nuts, so many other products also listed down in the RCM applicable products. So Tally ensures you to calculate the reverse charge in the stock item also, as well as the ledger, right? So in our example, we'll go to the example. I will straight away go and create a, first we'll create a stock item. First we'll create a stock item. Just a minute. Okay, fine. So I'm here. Let me see, before creating the ledger, I have created a stock item here. My scrap has been created as a stock item here. Right. So here you see in the stock item itself, we have this applicable to reverse charge. We have this applicable to reverse charge. So this has to be made it, yes, this has to be configured to yes here. So this is the first element. Then I am purchasing this product, right? So scrap, I am consuming the scrap here. So let me go to the purchases. So in the scrap purchases, you see the purchase bill I am making here. On purchasing, the purchaser is not charging me any tax here. So therefore, the purchase, I am not putting any tax here. So I am simply putting the quantity of the product. So then I am putting this the rate and value alone. So by then the purchase is, I am having the scrap purchases here in the purchase ledger. I don't have any specific classification, so I am just putting it the applicability alone, the HSN, all those things, since it is captured in the stock item level. I am not worried about the HSN or tax rate here. So tax rate, everything there in the product. So here I am not putting any taxes also. I'm not putting any taxes also. My purchases has been done. Okay. Then, so here why I am doing this? Why I am doing this is, once you do this alone, in our GST report, we have other report concept here. In that other report, I don't know how many of you have seen this. How many of you have seen this? Reverse charge supplies menu is there. Even though you have seen it, I don't know how many of you have checked it, the applicability of this, because this is a finest thing which gives you an opinion, which gives you a final report in what and all expenses, in what and all your purchases in a particular month, the reverse charge is applicable. Have you booked that reverse charge? Have you made that liability of the reverse charge? Have you made that, have you paid that liability? Because I have made so many entries here. You see, I will just explain this report. I'll come to the report. So, because this is much more important. Why? Because now, in the recent days, the scrutinies, the postmortem work of the assessment part is mainly concentrating on this reverse charge missed out elements. Because obviously, on the auditor, the GST auditor, the GST scrutiny, the officers are asking the balance sheets and P&L. So the P&L, they are looking at on the expenses part. What are all the expenses subject to reverse charge? Why you have not paid on the reverse charge? Like this, the questions are raised out in the later stage. So to avoid that, in ledger creation itself or the stock item creation itself, if you may, if you have confirmed about that particular purchases, that particular consumption is subject to reverse charge, mark the reverse charge, mark the reverse charge in the particular stock item or ledger. Then Tally will take you to the liability element here. I'll show you. So we'll go to one different date here. So I am purchasing from a particular, the same scrap dealer I am purchasing. Here you see the reverse charge is of two part. One is reverse charge supplies from an unregistered person, reverse charge from a registered person, registered supplier. Though we don't have much of parties in unregistered, only the promoters, I believe. Beyond that, that scrap dealers alone and the rent land providers, rental premises providers. So those people are alone coming under unregistered element. Beyond that, all would be under the registered element, I believe. So this configuration is also element. Even though you are paying the supplies, the um, purchases or expenses under reverse charge, the supplier configuration has to be made whether it is unregistered or unregistered. So the scrap is from a unregistered person. Let's say something I am taking. So scrap purchases, enough. I'm not putting any tax here. By putting this, so you would be doing all the entries throughout the month, throughout the month. So you may not be knowing how much of my RCM is liable in the entire month. This report will show you. So that this is the total liability. So this is the total reverse charge liability has to be discharged in that month. I have done one this scrap alone. Let me put another entry in a rent. Say for example, a rent could be in a journal, right? Or not in a journal. You can go to the payment entry also, if possible, right? So for example, cash, sorry, in a cash, while making it as cash or bank. So for example, a rent landlord is here, is my supplier of my supplier of land. So let's say he is an unregistered landlord. See, in the recent past provision of our reverse charge notification, if you are a business registered under GST, you have to pay RCM on rent, right? So my landlord is unregistered, so I am paying rent. This is my payment entry. I am straight away going to the payment entry. My rent is under indirect expenses. Here under rent, whatever HSN you put, that is not at all necessary here. In the tax rate, I am putting tax here, and applicable reverse charge as yes. So my rent, I am paying on 50,000 rent, for example. Okay. So payment, I am going to the payment voucher itself. I am putting cash or bank, whatever. Then in the party details, I am selecting the particular landlord. These are the important things. So if I do this thing, so for our understanding, I have done one scrap purchases and I did one rent payment. Then for your another better understanding, I am going and doing my scrap purchases also. So this is also subject to my this is also subject to my what to say the RCM, right? So here, let's say this supplier, if he has GST number, let's say if he has GST number, I think scrap it won't come. Okay, for scrap it would be an unregistered person. Fine, we'll take for rent. For other things, we'll take security services or like that. We'll take a then here the scrap has been purchased. Let's see. Now go and see, look at your GST report. And there I have made so many purchases like this, and I have made some few of the payments which are attracting reverse charge also. You see, my total RCM liability is 12,500. Here, system is checking whether you have booked that liability, also whether you have rightly taken the input credit on the liability. So input credit on the paid RCM. Input credit on the paid RCM. The two things are being tracked here. This report, reverse charge supplies. Come to the other side. So the first thing, I am simply making the landlord rent payment, my usual payment entry in my purchases. So purchases, I will be purchasing from materials. Okay. So purchasing instead of scrap, you see, we'll take like this. That product A something is there. In that you will take reverse charge supplies at something. Okay. So product A, I think it is not configured. Reverse charge is not configured. Anyway, we'll take product B, some product which is subject to reverse charge something. Then here I can say some reverse charge like this. So three things are there. So my total liability in that particular month is 28,800. Right. So I am going to make the reverse charge entry. In the journal, F7 journal, in the F7 journal, stat adjustment provision is there. This at the month end, we are going to do that entry. So here I'm going to create the liability first. The first part, booking the liability. So I made the purchases entry. I made the payment, everything I have done earlier. Now at the end of the month, I need to take a list of items which are coming under reverse charge, and I need to create a liability on that reverse charge first. So increase in tax liability I'm going to make. So in that, be sure whether it is a reverse charge from an unregistered dealer or reverse charge from registered dealer. So I am making the entry here. So entry is very much simple. So I am creating a temporary ledger, which is under current assets. So which is obviously be a zero value. Before getting into that, so I'll just note down what are all the items which has to be uh, made liable for the reverse charge. So here, what else? What I done is 28,800. I need to do one for landlord, another two for suppliers scrap, right? So my 4,500 to landlord and 9,900 to my scrap supplier. I need to make a liability. So here F7 journal stat adjustment in the nature of adjustment I am going to book the liability and purchase from unregistered dealer, tax on reverse charge. I can put separate suppliers, separate entries, right? So for that, so my 9,000 rupees outward liability, which is for that uh, 1 lakh rupees, right? So 4,500 and SGST. So this is how my entries. So this is for my landlord, right? My rent landlord. This has to be configured. Provide GST details. Na? This is important. So this is my important. I don't think how many of you have doing all these things. This is required to have that reverse charge supplies menu verification. So here, when I take landlord, so you see now that this one entry, one reverse charge has been done. Then another reverse charge liability for my 9,900 from scrap supplier, no, that 9,900. So 19,800 in a total. So that comes to 9,900 here. So that subtable has to come because here I have not taken the stat adjustment. Stat adjustment. Here also I am creating the liability purchase under unregistered person. Once you take the statutory adjustment, then only Tally will prompts you to this table. If this table is not coming, small table is not coming, then you can very well say you are making some mistake there. Actually, you are making some mistake there. So I am saying so 9,900 and this is 9,900. SGST is 9,900. CGST is 9,900. But this is to a scrap supplier here. Okay. Once I do this thing, come to this reverse charge supplies menu. You see here, my liability is booked now. Meaning to this is, so in that month, whatever purchases subject to RCM, whatever payments subject to, whatever expenses subject to RCM, which I booked and I have created the liability. Anyway, this will be reported in the GSTR 3B. So while checking the GSTR 3B, you see this liability will automatically be part of your GSTR 3B. So the liability is ensured here, but your input credit has not been taken. That is what that statement shows here. Your liability is booked, but you are supposed to take input credit. Balance input credit has to be taken. You see here, this bifurcation is also been taken. This is helpful for us in the annual return form, where the bifurcation of RCM supplies input credit part, we are required to take these things. That is also been taken care. So by this, at this stage, I booked the liability, but I have not taken the input credit, right? So let me go and take the input credit here. So in the journal, the statutory adjustment, increase in input tax credit. So I used to say in all my discussion, all my customers engagement, I used to say this stat adjustment is the unique facility in Tally, because I don't think I have not seen any of the application no, doing this much of extent of adjustment, tax adjustment elements here. This is not only for this RCM, this is for ineligible ITCs, this is for some ITC reversals, so many things, even for your late fees, all those things can be journalized and captured. If it is captured in the stat ledger, stat adjustment part, then that is been taken care to the respective GSTR 3B also. So our work here is I am taking the input tax credit of whatever I paid in the reverse charge RCM. So purchase under reverse charge. So though I have paid it the different rate of tax in different form, so shall I make it the combined RCM? No, 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 because I need some bifurcation in which tax I paid, in which tax percentage I paid, because but the bifurcation of percentage of tax in RCM also required here. So here, there I have credited the output tax. Here I am going to take the input tax credit. So the rent part, I am taking the credit here. Then the SGST input, these are all the usual entry you would have already done and you would have already made in the books. The point to be noted down here is the provide GST detail here. If you provide a correct GST detail for this landlord, I am providing this detail. So landlord, I am providing this detail. Landlord is a service, right? So landlord, I made it. Now go and see that report. Go and see that report, other report, reverse charge report. You see, out of 28,800, I have claimed this 9,000 because I made that input tax credit. I have claimed that 9,000 rupees. So the rent, RCM on rent has been claimed as input tax credit. So like that, so I can, if I put the other entry also in the journal, statutory adjustment, input increase in input tax credit, purchase from unregistered dealer. It could be a registered dealer also. In the if it is in the registered dealer, you have to give the GST number of the registered person, all those things. So that comes under the registered dealer part. So the taxable part and all I am putting in a notional figure. You put a right figure in your actual entry. So my scrap and all, I am taking the credit of whatever I paid in that particular heading, right? So, so now the two parts has been done. One is creating liability over and taking input credit also over. So I believe, so why it is so much important is the coming days, certainly we are going to get catched on the items which are left out in the RCM liability. People are going to meticulously scrutinize on the expenses we are going to spend and the purchases you are going to spend and all. So where and all you are missing on the RCM element. So for that, you need to make sure while creating the ledgers in the tally itself, if the RCM is applicable, make it as RCM applicable. If you made it as an RCM applicable, then certainly this menu will show you how much transaction has been done in that particular month, what is the total liability is due to be paid, and the RCM is there. It is clearly visible on this thing. So after seeing this thing, we can make the entries. If this report is not available, you would be hardly have to spend some more time to take out of information from the transactions list, and you have to calculate the RCM separately. So to avoid those kind of an additional efforts, as well as to some part of refinement as well as the accuracy on this particular RCM liability computation, we need this steps of RCM entries. With this particular information would be more useful to all of you, I believe. So quickly, I need some response from any of some of your people here. Is this information is quite useful for you? Please put me a Yes or no here is
In the chat
how you
also they
feel.
can put, yeah.
Okay. In the chat itself, you can put it. Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ajay Sharma, sir. Yes. Okay. So this is how I have shown to you. The RCM applicability can be marked in the stock item as well as the ledger. Ledger, I mean to say the sale ledger as well as in the income ledger. Sorry, here we are talking about inward supply, right? So in the purchases ledger or in the expenses ledger, we can mark up as the RCM applicability. Then the F7 statutory adjustment, creating the liability and taking back the input credit on the RCM paid element. Then purchase from registered and unregistered, how to configure it. I have shown it. Then the use of our option RC reverse charge supplies part in GST report, other report part. I don't think how many of you have already used it, and how many of you have taken. Ajay Sharma asked a question: how to generate a RCM in a Tally inward supply? Sir, certainly this RCM invoice format people are doing in a different way. This has to be done in a manual manner only. In an Excel, you create your own or manual invoice format. You have it. Put those references in the journal while creating the liability. Put those references in the journal. So straight away you cannot generate a since it is an expenses element. So we cannot generate an invoice from Tally. So you have to make a manual arrangement of any printed RCM invoices or any Excel kind of a thing. So that is just for a compliance part, not for any other tracking purposes. Verify all the liabilities on RCM is booked as well as the ITC has been taken. That thing has to be done here. Instead of making two stat HDS and me only one I can made, I have to select increase tax liability. Okay. Even then I need to check it out, sir. This Bhavesh suggesting anyway, I need to check it out whether the taxable value is been captured in that particular outward liability portion. Anyway, that is also a right suggestion. Right. The taxable value in some cases it is missing. That's why we are making. Then there are some few practical things where people paying this month and claiming in the next month. For this thing, we are separating these two things separately. Right. Now in the advanced GST configurations. So many more advanced configurations are there. One finest thing, I don't think how many of you have already checked on this thing. The assessee of other uh, territory facility is there in two instances. One is at their your F11 feature assessee of other taxable territory, as well as at the uh, ledger creation stage also you have an assessee of other taxable territory. Say for example, why this has to be taken, I'll tell you. So in a CES environment, special economic zone, that is exclusive economic zones, this we treat it as an other territory entity in GST. For example, I have an office in Chennai itself or in Bangalore itself, but if I have to supply to a CES zone in Bangalore or CES zone in Chennai itself, though it is an intrastate supplies, I have to treat it as an intrastate supplies because CES zone entities are treated as a separate zone entities, right? Therefore, the treatment of tax liability, treatment of taxation is different for CES zone entries also. So exclusive economic zones. So the taxable territory, other assessee of other territory. So while creating, say for example, uh, if I supply a product to a CES zone, cess company. So here, my sundry debtor is my cess zone. You have a taxpayer type. You have a taxpayer type regular cess zone, right? Or you have assessee of other taxable assessee of other taxable territory. Just taxable territory. Just a minute. Party details. Yes, here assessee of other territory. Yes, is there. So cess is one thing. Assessee of other territory. This is what I am trying to say. Then in the cess company, exclusive economic zone, the transactions are like this. So other territory, within that territory, if a transaction outward supply is made to another territory in another company in the same zone, then the taxes are treated as intrastate supply and CGST, SGST is applicable. So from that other zone, cess zone, if anything is coming out of the zone to up within the state itself, the IGST is applicable, though it is within the state itself. Similarly, anything going to that particular zone, that is also treated as an interstate supplies. So the IGST is applicable. So you please create a company and market as other says companies at the cess zone, mark this assessee of other territory as yes, then you will get these entries in the books. My point here is we have the treatment of the special treatment of this assessee and the other territory. One element is the special economic zone, exclusive economic zone. The other element is, say for example, there are some intrastate transaction which has to be marked as interstate also. When I book a courier to a local courier company, so for an international delivery, in that case, the GST number of the local person would be the same state GST number, but the IGST would have been charged. So in that case also the assessee of other territory would apply. Like this, there are some other practical scenarios which can be clubbed into using of this assessee of other territory. I'll make it to your point of view also. There is a facility in Tally. You explore it and you use it. At a company level, it is used for the companies located in the cess zone. At the ledger level, it is used for our customers in the different zones. So make it the facility. You make use of this facility, and let's have what is the things available. Let's understand what is available in that. Then the additional configuration in the set alter GST rate and other details. These are all the details which is there, which is also hidden over there. It is not available on the face of it. In your F11 features, go to the next feature to the enable GST, set alter GST rate and other details. Here, there is a specific F12 configuration. In the Tally's recent TallyPrime, there are so many additional configuration hidden in within that actually. So I am just going to show this additional configuration. This is what I wanted to showcase you. Set source of GST rate details in transaction. Set source of when I say no, obviously by default it would be no here. You don't find this thing. In the F12 configuration alone, if we say yes here, that comes here. You see, the source comes here. Then the method of calculation comes here. Then particularly this set alter threshold limit for B2CL is also coming here. B2C large entries is also coming here. So let me go by one. In the source of GST rate details in transaction, this is also one of the element to reduce our uncertain transactions in the exceptions stage, because we have a liberty in Tally to set a GST rate, HSN code, all these things at the ledger level as well as in the stock item level. Here we are to reduce the uncertainty, we have to make sure where from the GST rates have to be picked up for the GST report computation. If you have marked here as ledger, by default it is showing as ledger. If you want this has to be go from the stock item, then you have to select the stock item here. Say for example, I selected stock item, but I have not put the GST rate and HSN code in the stock item. I put it in the ledger. Then the problem arises. Then the exception comes. So to avoid all those things, make sure where you are configuring your HSN, where you are configuring your GST rates, make sure that source is configured here. Then only your exceptions will get reduced. Your exceptions would get reduced. Similar to GST rate, HSN SCSC marking also has to be picked out from which source. You are going to instruct the application where from you have to pick up for GST report computation. So I am instructing here to the system that from the ledger you take it the HSN. Otherwise, no HSN, invalid HSN exception will come. GST rate mismatch would come, exception. GST rate not specified. You would have already experienced many of the exceptions. So to reduce all those exceptions, the source of information is important here. Then these are all you would have already experienced it. The decimal part of the HSN, all those things, these are all by default, it is available, not to additionally enable this additional configuration. This method of GST calculation is also there. Typically, I have not checked it. You go and check it out by the terminology here. What I can understand is, by default, Tally calculates the GST rate based on your tax rates and HSN tax rates specified in the item master or the inventory master or in the accounting master ledger. But in an invoice of having combination of different HSN code and different tax rates, the computation could be of any other manner. One could be from the stock item manner, or could be from the similar nature of HSN items, similar nature of tax rates. The computation. This is not going to make much of a difference, but the minor tax rate differences, the decimal part, the rounding, there could be some differences in the large. If I calculate an tax rate for some 100 crores or like the huge digits of value, there could be some differences of computation by making a stock item wise calculation or by making a rate wise classification. So that flexibility flexibility is also Tally providing. By default, it is in stock item wise and ledger wise. Then the other advanced configuration here, what we are meaning is ignore differences in value. One configuration we enabled, right? So ignore differences in value would be how much the value up to which you can ignore. Say for example, in our GSTR to be downloaded, matching, reconciliation, all those things, there could be differences of your entries as well as the portal entries. Some you would have computed the values in 407.10, but the party would have uploaded in 407, or party would have uploaded rounded up to 408. So that 90 pace difference, that 10 pace difference won't make much difference, no? In that case, you can make it as 1 rupee, or even some people are having some higher values, they can make it round it up to 10 rupees differences. I don't want to make it a much of a difference, so I can ignore it. So ignoring those differences. So ignoring, by putting a ignoring value here, Tally takes care to your GST reports in GSTR1, 3B, 2B, and everywhere. Even in GSTR1 and 3B, so Tally by default calculates some tax rate. But if you put something in your sales bill or purchase bill, a tax amount, Tally by default calculates a calculated value is different from your effective value. So to show that difference, if I say, sir, ignore this much of value, if I say that, that would be ignored. So in many of the cases I have seen, there could be some hundreds of exception corrections, but in that 80% of exceptions and corrections would be on the this smaller differences only. So to get rid of all these things, smaller differences, by making the value differences, ignoring difference value to this much of 10 rupees or 1 rupee on whatever case maybe you decide, putting it in the F11 feature itself, that reduces much of your time, that reduces much of your exceptions and the corrections needed at the GSTR report generation. Right. Then the last one is the set alter B2C L invoices. Right. So we would have already noticed that earlier we had the reporting parameter of this B2C large reporting. So B2C large reporting typically says about the transaction which is sent to an outside customer, outside the state customer who is not registered under GST. They're typically unregistered customer in the outside state. When you make a sale above 2.5 lakhs, that has to be reported in B2C large in the past. But in the recent case, it has been reduced to 1 lakh. So now, if you make a sale to a outside state and unregistered customer, so if you may make a sale above 1 lakh rupees, invoice value along with the tax is above 1 lakh, that has to be reported separately instead of in the B2C others. What is the main difference of reporting in B2C others and B2C large? B2C others, we are combining the entries, a summary value of rate-wise classification alone put at the B2C others. But in the B2C large, so we are reporting invoice-wise reporting, similar to our B2B invoicing. Therefore, that threshold limit can be set here. This threshold limit could have been brought, could be in the near future can be brought down or can be increased, whatever may be. Therefore, Tally gives you a flexibility of putting. So since our GST inception, it was 2 lakh 50, but after 1st August 24, it was only 1 lakh rupees. So therefore, it has been reduced. That option is also available to configure this set alter threshold limit for P2C large invoices, right? So this is what I try to show. Anyway, this source of information, we have already seen it. By keeping this source of information correctly, we can reduce the corrections and exceptions items falling in the GST reports, either GSTR1 or GSTR3B, right? Then, as I said in the beginning, so the most common uncertain transaction in the GST reports. One is the HSN SAC is invalid and not specified. Mismatch between expected tax amount and modified tax amount. Country, state, dealer type not specified. This usually people used to forget while while creating a ledger. They'll create a name, addresses, and everything. Even in the state, they used to forget. And particularly in the place of supply, they have to select a particular state place of supply. Otherwise, that would be a major difference, a huge error. All of your entries would have been marked as corrections needed and all these things. So this place of supply as well as the UQC, unique quantity code. So unit quantity code. So this has to be taken care correctly. Then the other part is mismatch in GST registration details, invalid GST. Invalid GST is often happening. My simple tip for this is we have a fetch GST number facility in GST ledger creation in TallyPrime itself. Just have a check in GST in fetch information, verify online, because that doesn't need any online OTP, logging in, anything. Simply from your ledger master creation screen itself, you can simply from ledger master creation itself, say for example, I have created my ledger is here. Say my customer. Okay. So my customer is here. Whenever you put a GST number, make sure the fetch GST number is there. Check it out whether your GST number addresses are correct. So this is one of the finest facility Italy is giving. Anyway, HSN facility is also going to come in the near thing. Somehow would have already experienced in the next releases beta versions also. So like that, many validations are taken care in Tally. Then tax rate, tax type not specified. This often would come where, say for example, we used to record expenses in a journal entry, right? So while recording journal expenses, we would have not mentioned the correct percentage of tax in the particular expenses. Most of the expenses will have this error. So the point here is, while recording the entries itself, you bifurcate two things. One is what are all the expenses on which you are going to take an input credit, what are all subject to the tax. Have separate expenses for that, expenses ledger for that. For example, printing and stationery. I'm going to take input credit on that. Printing and stationery with GST applicability means printing and stationery within bracket GST a separate ledger. Printing and stationery without GST a separate ledger. If you want, you put. We have in latest tally like specifying in the voucher level, but how many of you are going to cautiously do those things would be another nightmare. Anyway, my simple suggestion is have a different tax ledger for that. So in that case, this error would have been taken care. UOM, as I told earlier, this place of supply and UOM creates a like uh, on the face of it, it shows it look like a biggest error. But if I mark a particular state or if I mark this UQC, certainly most of errors will go off. So usually we will get we will get errors in this mismatch. I don't think the state and all you will do a mistake. Similarly, UOM is also a one-time effort that you would have done it correctly. This tax rate not specified you will get frequently. This mismatch expected would come, but for this also I recommend you to put it in the ignoring value, right? HS and SAC anyway, in a immediate recent future, we are going to get HS and SAC validation also in the Tally. Okay, HS and SAC usually, anyway, these are all the resolution aspect I am putting. Set the HS and SAC in on the particular product or the ledger, validate that HSN before filing and set the HS and SAC length. Again, this HS and SAC validation takes care of this validation also. Taxpayer having a turnover, annual aggregate turnover below 5 crore has to has to mention for 4-digit alone is sufficient for him. For a taxpayer having above 5 crore of turnover, 6-digit is mandatory. For exports and all, 8-digit is mandatory. That requirement has to be mandatorily carried out. Otherwise, the tally will show you an error. These are all taxation aspect that we have to take care. Then the set effective date, whatever rate we are changing, I think this also you would have already experienced it. Let me show that. So all this HSN we are doing in our item product master or in the ledger master. For correcting this HSN or mentioning this HSN and all, when you are going and altering in the existing created master, don't do it in this level. I think this everyone already uh, noticed, certainly, but anyway, you keep on instructing to the juniors who are coming to the tally afresh. Just tell them never ever go to market as in the front screen. Go to the more details and mention this session here, because tally clearly tracks on the dates from which the HSN has been modified, dates from which the tax rates has been modified. Like that, things are there. Even in this thing, we have so many options of taking the rate which are configured at the F11 feature, taking the rate from the GST classification. We have some separate part GST classification. For each different percentage, I can have different classification. Instead of marking that GST rate at every stock item level, I can categorize and classify a bunch of items in one particular tax rate and name that classification separately and have some classification. Or if you have a practice of having different tax rate at different entries, one payment entry, one printing and stationery account suffers 5%, another printing and stationery transaction suffers 18%. Like that, if you have so that much of practice, you can go by this specify voucher also. But be cautious, specifies in voucher always prompts you, triggers you for the override tax amount. Overriding again causes you for some other correction needed uncertain transaction. So my simple suggestion is always have all the GST rate and HSN classification at the master level. So specify correct HSN in the master level and do this thing. Similarly, rates are done at the this level, and while making the rates, there are 3 4 options are there here. One additional option here is specify slab based rates. There are some products and services where GST suffered based on the MRP or based on the rates. So in that case, Tally also provides that facility here. So make sure that correct HSN or ACSC is done. Let me take one company which has some exceptions. So practically we'll see some exceptions instead of going through the theoretical element. The GSTR 3B, usually you get some bunch of exception. In GSTR 1, not much of information because only the GST number variation would come there. Here you see 86 elements are there in the exceptions, right? So I go to the exceptions. Okay, you see GST registration details of the parties are invalid, are not specified. I just drill down to that particular entry. So in that case, kindly check it out whether this GST number is correct or not. I am just checking by which the details. Yes, GST number is correct. Okay. Even then, there are some cases in the party ledger, this GST number would be different, or in the more details, this GST number would be different, would have been different, or the entry level, you would have wrongly specified some other entry. That kind of error would also be there. See, these are all the things, some time taking things. So make sure always we have a cautious checkpoint in altering any masters, because altering the masters will make the tally to update the transactions, because Tally has the inbuilt capacity to update the transactions. So you often used to get the information, want to update the GST details and all. So while updating the master's detail, be more cautious. don't allow any other juniors to alter these things. The problem here is the GST number is correct, but the error is coming. The problem, what being the problem is, I also not able, I'm not also able to find out what was the problem. But here, see, the actual state is Maharashtra, but I have put it as Haryana actually. So that's what the problem here. The state is, it is not Haryana, it is Maharashtra actually. So therefore the error comes. So I have checked the GST number, everything was correct. Why this error is not going? I have literally wondered actually. The problem was here. The state, originally it was Maharashtra as per the GST portal, but I made it as Haryana. You see, once I make this error goes off. Like that, the GST number related thing. So the error goes off actually. So GST number related exception would normally lie on the GST number, wrong GST number, that we can identify by fetching the GST number details online. Also, make sure the correct GST number in the ledger master as well as in the transaction level, buyer details level. Right. So apart from that, check it out that place of supply, check it out that correct state, everything is there. That will also result in GST registration details, because GST registration, that starting number depends on the state. So if a state is different, GST number would also different. That my minute checking is also happening in Tally. So we cannot comply in Tally in this case, because Tally is so much sensible in that. So
And
then, then
just a time check. It's
okay, I'll complete it. It's another 2-3 minutes only. I'll complete.
we have few questions in the Q&A as well, so we'll take that.
Okay. So here, this is only for the payments part. This has to be ignored anyway, or to get rid of all these things in the entry level itself. We should actually, whatever not applicable to GST, we should make it as not applicable. Then this sort of errors will not come. So like that, maybe this bank related entries, all those things. Here you see the entries has to be updated or not. All these things can be updated. So beyond that, the other things are the mismatch in the tax amount. Mismatch in the tax amount, as I said, they ignore the values, you can do it. Then party GST number and the company GST, this also some kind of an error. Like the company's GST number is the same with the party GST number. So here, if I change the GST number, this error will go off. So like this, the exceptions has to be handled in a right way. Otherwise, you will get stuck in the vicious circle of in the same error way. Okay, the questions here. Why can't create ITC liability and ITC credit simultaneously? Yes, sir, I already told you can select that, but the only problem there is the taxable value would not be picked up in the reverse charge liability table, which is coming in the table 3.1 and 3.1 of GSTR 3B. Instead of start entries, I have made it. Okay.
Questions are
RCM.
in the Q&A also, actually, if you see.
Okay. I'll see that. Okay. How to create party ledger under Amazon? Okay. Sir, ledger, go to the Amazon. Only thing is, mark it as that's e-commerce operator as the registration type. Instead of regular, make it as e-commerce operator and make sure the actual e-commerce operator GST number is put. That is the only way. This is something similar to your normal ledger creation. Could you please let me know which version of Tally? Sir, this is always available in any of the earlier versions, sir, not in I am using the TallyPrime 7.0. Anyway, it is always available, sir. Then in case of supplying through e-commerce or Amazon, the bill to should be Amazon and ship to no, sir. Bill be Amazon and ship to the individual. to whom we sending goods to them. Correct. But accounting has to be, it is a sale from our books only. It is not a sale from their books. So unlike in the 9-5 transaction, it is a sale from our books only, right? So bill to ship to is correct. Then whether GST on RCM will have to be paid before availing ITC, and GST and RCM will have to be paid. Certainly, sir. Unless paying, how can you take a credit? Obviously, it has to be. It will be done in simultaneous manner. No, so not a much difficulty on this particular part. Then how to book sale of restaurant? And certainly, sir, as I said already, those are all 9 subsection 5 transactions. So those are all exempted supply as far as the original supplier is concerned. As a restaurant, you should book it on the exempted supplies. The e-commerce operator will book it as a taxable supply. So you have to book it as a exempted supply. So the normal transaction. If we made RCM liability in April 25 and ITC taken next month after paying liability, is it correct, sir? It's not. Uh, Actually, apparently, you cannot say anything wrong on it. But why you are taking the facilities available on the same month? Why are you going to the next month? Otherwise, booking at the year end, March, it would be a problem. So please be careful. Take a credit on the same month. Pay on the month and say take a credit on the same month. If we don't book GST in this entry and reverse charge, then how we pass a journal for GST liability payment, and our GST input register is also mismatched. If we don't book GST in this entry on revenue, the reverse charge, then how we pass? You make a consolidated entry, sir. Year on the entire year, you book the consolidated entry in the year itself. Now, what prevents you to do that? You make that entry, then only that liability will come. Then payment will also can be set off against that. Otherwise, if you pay, if you make a payment entry alone, that debit entry alone would be there. Corresponding credit won't be there. So adjustment can't be done. Some voucher doesn't comes into GST at 3B, debit note, etc. sometimes. Sir, debit note, that make sure that the accounting allocations is correct. Similarly, as I said, the tax liability means tax rate not mentioned would be there. That would be the major thing. Apart from that, mismatch amount, expected value and the transaction value different. As I said, ignore the value. You may make the ignore value or correct the exactly. If the difference is much more, may make the correct entry, the percentage relevant to the percentage, calculate the correct amount and put it in the transaction. In e-commerce, there are numerous sales bills. So do we need to book each bill in Tally as it is, sir? If it is certainly, sir, e-commerce, certainly, though it is through in portal, it has to be as if in your books of accounts. The law wants us to make individual bills for values above 200 rupees. No, so whatever B2B or B2C, it has to be done separately, sir, as far as law. Otherwise, it would be a problem in the future. Sir, explain purchases, expenses from Canva or Facebook related. Certainly, sir. Facebook or Canva might be entities outside India. They are treated as import of services. Similarly, similar kind of RCM entries has to be put for those type of services also. And similar to that, as I said, a rent, what we made while creating a rent entry, we have made RCM applicable, the same RCM applicability, then same this. Only in the classification, instead of purchase from unregistered person, there is a classification in the input tax credit claiming import of services claim is there. So select that alone while taking input credit on the paid tax. Otherwise, the liability creation are all similar to the RCM. So import of services also RCM liability only. We are currently using 2.1. Can we use this GST updated processor? I believe beyond this 3.0 or 4.0, anyway, whatever I showed here, is available, better you come to the later, sir, because so many connected facilities are there, sir. Please come to the latest version, sir. Through which stats adjustment, tally entry in GSTR1 table. No stat entry, nothing, sir. No stat entry, nothing, sir. As I told you, create the supplier ledger, Amazon supplier entry, create the Amazon supplier entry, then while making the what to say, the sale entry, while making the sale entry, you have to put the in the party name, select Amazon first, and then select the Amazon first. I'll show you. No statutory adjustment here. A simple sale entry, create this Amazon and mark the registration type and put the e-commerce GST number. Then in the party name, select Amazon. In the buyer detail, put your actual customer detail. This is the only configuration you need. Other than that, you don't need any other statutory adjustment or anything. So I think we are
completed the question, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your cooperation.
No, very smooth session. I think you covered along with what can go wrong and the provisions. I think it would be very helpful. So many people have asked for the recording. We'll upload it in our CA Connect playlist. So please do stay tuned. And as again, I have mentioned about Tally